morning, everyone. Welcome to the Technology Source webinar today with Command Link. I wanted to introduce myself. I am Sue Beeler, your Partner Development Manager, and I wanted to introduce you to our host today, Sonia Moline, as well as Command Link, who is going to be presenting today. We are going to be talking about empowering remote workers in a post-COVID-19 era. Very excited to hear about that topic today. Wanted to talk a little bit about our host, Sonia Moline. She is a dynamic leader with extensive business continuity planning experience. She served previously as Chief Executive for business cloud services firm Effortless Office and founder and partner in compliance firm Comply Pro. She joins Technology Source with a passion for business improvement. Her IT career started when she was the IT director for several busy mid-sized healthcare companies, including Physicians Data Trust and Center for Sight. While at these firms, she implemented extensive pandemic planning measures. These included virtualizing infrastructure and eliminating physical hardware such as servers and computers to enable both on-site staff and the remote workforce. Welcome, Sonia.
Thank you so much, Sue. Good morning, good morning. Excited to be here this morning. Good to see everyone. You're in the right place, the Technology Source Roundtable that we host every Tuesday, gaining a lot of momentum, and we're really, really grateful for our following here. And we're hoping that every time you get something out of this that is just really great. We do a lot to make sure that these are action-packed and information-filled. And so, in fact, speaking of action-packed, we have an event coming up, and that is our happy hour, and that will be on Thursday. And so it's at 2 o'clock Pacific time or 4 o'clock Central time, because this is really sort of our Central East Coast happy hour. Of course, I'm going to be there, and a lot of our people on the West will also be there too, just a little early. Maybe not partaking quite as much, but we'll be there with you anyway. But we'll be doing some fun interactive games, and there will be prizes and stuff like that. And that's specifically mostly for our advisors or anyone kind of in the technology industry, just to kind of rally everybody together and also to have some fun. We have to be physically distant, but we don't have to be as socially distant as we're all able to connect with our tools online. So that's exciting. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Technology Source and the role of a technology advisor. Then we will have a great presentation from Command Link, one of our outstanding providers, and then we will take some questions from our audience. So as I mentioned, don't forget to sign up for that East Coast Virtual Techie Happy Hour. We will be sending out an email about that, and also if you follow us on LinkedIn or Facebook or any of those social media channels, we'll have the invite registration link there. And our sponsor for that event is going to be 8x8. So today I wanted to, this slide is here so that I remember to let you know that you can ask us questions. This is a round table. And so letting us know that you're there and that you're interested or you have questions or we're doing a great job or not a good job or whatever, just let us know so that we are aware of how you're feeling and what you're thinking. And so that helps us kind of do better and improve each time. And it also helps us to know kind of what's on your mind during the presentation itself. And we can take questions from the audience. There's a little chat box for most of you. I see a lot of repeat people on here as well as some new people. I will be introducing Mr. Mason Miles in just a few minutes. Before that, I just wanted to talk a little bit about Technology Source. We at Technology Source have over 3,500 happy customers and over 200, actually we're approaching over 500 service providers at this time. So that is a number we need to update. That just happened, and they're actually now all available on our website under the providers tab, just so you can kind of take a look. It's hundreds of logos, but behind each one of those logos is an amazing solution that we've worked really hard to bring to our customers at Technology Source. We are serving 60 countries and over 200 technology advisors around the United States. One of the things at Technology Source that we came up with is our elements of business success. The concept here was, how can we explain what we do and all the different solutions that we provide besides just showing a bunch of logos? And so what it's really meant to deliver at Technology Source is business success, right? That's what we're here for. And so each of these different segments represents a bunch of different products and services that we sell and we represent to our customers. And so I wanted to talk today a little bit about the role of a technology advisor. And so one of the things that's kind of cool here at Technology Source is that every technology advisor brings something special to the table. And we get to work together, and we get to work with executive leadership who have maybe years and years of experience, each of them in different areas. And so we also have partners all over the United States who basically operate their own businesses and have access to all these different service providers through us and all of our support. And so if you were just curious, like, what is Technology Source? In a nutshell, that's what we do. I just wanted to consider today too to talk about what happens when you decide to work with Technology Source. And so the very first step is kind of before you buy anything is really that initial provider discovery. And what we do is we vet providers extensively. We eliminate any providers before we even bring them to our list of service providers. We've eliminated them based on any issues or concerns from those providers. And the next thing we do is provide a goal setting, kind of a workshop with you, the customer. We do this discovery meeting and we meet with your top executives or anyone who is in the discovery and leadership role of making those decisions. And then we also bring in our team as well who have that experience and who've worked with our customers for many years. So the next thing we do is any additional discoveries, because I can't tell you how many times we've been in a call with a customer and you hear a vendor say something like, oh, that's a good question, I'll get back to you. Or the customer asks a question like, do you have any references or something like that? And then the customer has to go and chase down those references or look for the answers to those questions. And one of the things that your advisor will do is make sure that those questions are all answered for you and taken care of, and those references or any kind of testimonials that you're looking for are accumulated and delivered to you. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to also look at any kind of talent scouting that needs to be done. And this could include, but it doesn't have to always include, but it could include like an RFP or an RFI. So that's just, request for proposal, request for information. You'll work with the advisor to put that together based on the needs of your organization. We have some really great templates, things that you may have already considered, those will go in there. And then anything we don't want you to bump your head on anything that we've already done. So we'll make sure that when we're looking for proposals, that we get all of those questions in place. The next thing we're going to do, nobody really likes to do this, but we're good at it, is book all the appointments and make sure that they're lined up sort of back to back or however you like it, and that they're all carefully considered around your timeline and your schedule and in your time zone and those types of things. So we're good at that, and we make sure that the right people are on those appointments and that they show up on time. Then we do all the follow-up, like I had said earlier, where any kind of questions that had come up, we're continuing to find out any answers to any questions. And then we're also protecting your time. So as an advisor, it's our role to make sure that you're not getting phone calls, emails, people knocking at your door or anything like that. That's really our role, to limit any salesperson interaction with you. They can bring all of their things to us, and then we put that kind of in a batched communication to you, so you're not getting just inundated with salespeople and all of their agendas. The next thing we do is we want to make sure whatever solutions that you're looking at, that we're getting the best prices. We're making sure if there's any kind of bundles or free services. Right now with COVID, there's a lot of things that you can look into that might be good for your organization. There's also a lot of kind of hype out there, and so we're also making sure that that is curtailed as much as possible. Then we're going to help you with the vendor selection. So that's a fun point in the process where we say, okay, you've looked at these different vendors, now it's time to make that selection. Here's our recommendations. And then any vendors that you select, we will let them know that you've selected them. And then we'll also let any vendors who did not make the cut know to thank you for their time and we've taken them off the list as a candidate. So that can be a difficult job, but that's something we definitely take care of for you. And then from there, it is any contract support. So if you're getting, say, like a managed service agreement, like an MSA, or any type of agreement that comes into your organization, we are making sure that that gets to the right people. And then any questions or concerns, changes, modifications, we're here to help you with that as well. So that's kind of the before you buy, step-by-step of what happens. After you've selected the service provider, our service doesn't stop there to you. We want to make sure that you're going to get the best support teams available right at the start. If it's a migration team, we're going to make sure that that migration team that's assigned to your account is the best migration team. Having worked on the other side, even myself at a business cloud services provider, I was a chief sales and marketing officer, so I've seen different teams be deployed for different accounts. So it's really important to get the right migration team right from the beginning, so you don't have to escalate. Just escalate from the beginning and get the greatest team right then. From there, it's also setting realistic expectations. A lot of time, even in the buying process, this is throughout, you'll get a lot of hype, right? Because it's really exciting, new products and services. But we've been there, we've seen some of these things where you may hear, hey, this only takes 2 weeks, most likely. Well, is that really 2 weeks, or is it 3 weeks or 4 weeks? And so we want to make sure that hype is eliminated and that realistic expectations are set. Then there's the accountability for the outcome. We're really making sure that the migrations, installation teams, all the orders are tracked, and that the project managers show up to your calls or wherever they're supposed to be. You can let us know if anyone didn't show up or anything like that, and we will make sure to reach out to that provider and make sure that they get the right team on the right call. And then escalation. So if there's any issues or concerns throughout the process of onboarding or even after, we're here to make sure that you have that long-standing relationship with that vendor. And if something is really negative and you're not happy, we can also look at how to replace that vendor and find somebody equal or better to meet your needs. And then ongoing renewals, terminations of those agreements, any new solutions. So as new technologies come out, you'll see, as you can imagine, we have over 500 providers on our website, and that's because every time new providers come out with new products and services, we go through the extensive vetting processes, and then we bring them on board, and we look to help match them with the right organizations looking for those services. So we probably have things you've never heard of, a lot of boutique services that are really niche for different industries, and it's kind of a fun thing to, I'm a technology nerd, I love that stuff, so that's what we have a passion about, is finding the right solutions. And almost every advisor that's on our team kind of shares that same mentality. So, and then any special offers, I can mention some of the providers that we're working with. They have really great offers all year long, all the time, and some of those just aren't talked about when their customers come to them. So we're going to find out what those offers are. And then, of course, with any kind of economic downturn or any kind of concerns with the economy or COVID-19, there's a lot of providers offering really great initiation with their organization. So we're going to do our best to make sure that you're able to take advantage of any of those things. And then lastly, we really love what we do. Like I said, we are the sourcing as a service company. We'd love to keep it fun. We typically do not bring dozens of service providers to answer every single issue you have, because let's face it, that would be really painful. Nobody wants to sit on hour-long calls every day to try to look at the same problem and issue. What we've done is we've already done all that research. We've already sat in those meetings. We've been around for over 20 years. And so it's really important to us to only bring the right solution to the table, or maybe there's a couple providers that would fit your needs. And so I just thought that was a good thing to kind of share today. But that's what we do at Technology Source. So that's what we do at Technology Source, and that's about your Technology Source advisors. We have advisors from all walks of life, all over the United States and even in different countries. And it's exciting to know that they're out there fighting the good fight right now on the front lines, helping organizations get the services that they need during this really difficult time. So really proud to be on that team and a part of that team. So that is what I had for you. I wanted to share and introduce Mr. Mason Miles. If you'd like to join us here, Mason, I'm excited to introduce you today. All right, so Mason, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Sonia?
Good. Besides the jackhammering guy outside, I'm good. So Mr. Miles' approach to technology sales has always been focused on solving customer challenges and evangelizing proven technologies to enterprises and strategic partners. As a senior vice president of sales, Mason's passion continues as he leads a growing and high-performing team and guides strategic initiatives to ensure the right solution is identified for each customer's unique need. So prior to joining CommandLink, Mason held executive leadership position at Fusion Connect, and then he also worked prior to that, so his largest customers there were in retail, restaurant, medical, financial, and technology firms. So a lot of people I know we have on this call today. And then I know you were also worked directly for Jason Ness, who's the CEO of CommandLink, and he's on today with us. Worked with him at prior organizations as well. So hopefully you're enjoying your time there today in Salt Lake City. How's the weather over in Salt Lake today?
Yeah, it's sunny and beautiful finally. I think we're finally getting our summer, and yeah, pleasure to be here today.
Good. I thought it was nice. But I was like, wait, I didn't check today because I know sometimes it changes, and you might be kind of near the mountains there, so it can change.
Yep, sure am.
Well, great. Well, we're excited to have you with us today, and we did have a question for you to kind of start us off. What are you guys doing at Command Link right now in response to the coronavirus, and how is your organization helping current customers and potential customers, and how's that going?
Yeah, I think overall COVID has really caused a change in the way the businesses are evaluating a number of different things. And in fact, as I was preparing for this discussion and this roundtable, there was really three main things that stuck out at me that businesses are commonly bringing up. And I spent a lot of time talking to CIOs, director of ITs, technology executives on a daily basis. And three things that I thought would be interesting for discussion here are, first and foremost, the move to enable remote-based users or remote working. So that has been a tidal wave, as we all know, of people having to, quickly move to deploy communications, network services, and technology to support people as they've been working from home. And we actually think, and I have conversations to confirm this, that there will be an element of a permanent move to a temporary basis of that, but some businesses will move to take advantage of potential cost savings in things like commercial real estate and brick and mortar. And basically COVID has made them realize that technology can allow them to stay connected with communications and collaboration services. They can stay connected to the core network through encrypted connectivity and even some other strategies which I'll outline. And I think that it's a huge movement. I think that I'm going to walk you through this discussion. The next thing that we're seeing, I think there's just an overall concern over an industry-wide problem from our perspective, which is just support around communications and network services. So I'm going to outline that problem and then discuss how we solve for that. And then finally, I think that a new movement with business is Microsoft Teams is becoming very increased used application by business for collaboration services. There is some potential problems that businesses face when deploying that as an application, and I'll outline those problems and be able to give some solutions around those as well.
Perfect, yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So what I'll do is I'll take you through a quick high level of who Command Link is and give you just a high level on what our capabilities are, and then we'll kind of dive into the remote working topic. So Command Link was founded in 2012 as a software company. We are a full solution capable supplier, meaning that we do business voice services, collaboration services, network security, SD-WANs. We are an aggregator of every internet service provider in the country. We do a lot of things in the LAN, like managed switching, managed Wi-Fi, managed IP phones, so even the phones on the desk. And we tie everything back to a proprietary Command Link platform that gives exceptional support visibility and automates the support workflow process for a very unique structure, which I'm going to talk about here on this call. So we're founded as a software company that stays true to our DNA, both in the tools and visibility that we extend to every customer, but also in our ability to be a very prolific voice and unified communications vendor, providing custom integrations to whatever applications the business are using to conduct their activities. We are a facilities-based provider, so we're nationwide in focus, focused on North America. We have a Tier 1 peered 9-POP facilities-based network that is very unique in our space because it's been purpose-built within the past 3 to 4 years, all with the idea of unifying voice service, security, and then SD-WAN connectivity as well. SD-WAN being a routing design that has transformed the networking industry over the past 5 to 10 years. So definitely a technology company and a software company that just happens to own a cloud-based network that unifies all these different services, ties everything back to one SaaS application, and again, everything that we do is custom built for every customer we support. So with that being said, let's dive into the COVID issue. I have a perfect case study that I think outlines what businesses are seeing and also how Command Link was able to help them through that change. So Big Brothers Big Sisters is an organization that we are working with on a nationwide basis. We started with the country's largest chapter And they came to us back in the fall of 2019 with some fairly typical communications and just, network-based problems. They had very poor voice quality. I remember the first call we had, it was very difficult to even make out, what they were saying sometimes because their voice was failing them from a quality perspective so extensively. They also had inadequate channels for communication, both internally, but they also had several thousand external volunteers that they would have to communicate with on a daily basis, and they just didn't have the means to do so. They also had some struggles around slow network, slow internet. They use Wi-Fi extensively through their facility, both for conducting business, but also for supporting the customers, if you want to call them that. And then they're also a small IT team. They have very limited resources, and they needed a technology partner that'd be able to come in and help them basically offload the foundational layer of communications and network services. So the Command Link solution in the fall of 2019 was to deploy a very big upgrade to their communications platform. This upgrade included unified communications, SMS, text integration, instant messaging, voicemail to email with transcription, all delivered from our cloud-based network with a 100% uptime guarantee. We also deployed SD-WAN and security services, which allowed us to take control of their voice experience and guarantee that every voice packet would be delivered on time, in order, and that would solve their voice quality problems. We also deployed a pretty extensive upgrade to their Wi-Fi environment. And so this is really a full technology refresh across internet, communications, Wi-Fi, and a lot, basically Command Link taking over a lot of their LAN and WAN infrastructure. So that project finished in the fall of 2019. However, we faced a new problem, and the move to COVID and the move to have to go remote across all these different employees and still communicating with the external people. This is an essential business where we have to continue helping them, enabling them to do their operations through the pandemic. So basically overnight, we needed to help them go remote, take their communications and the ability to access the network from their home environments, and do so in a very rapid timeline. So what we did in a matter of about less than 3 business days is we enabled their remote-based users to stay connected with their phone calls, their instant messaging, their texting, voicemails, faxing, and also be able to enable them to add collaboration services like we are using Zoom right now. We are a Zoom provider ourselves. We were able to deploy all of that for all of their users to allow them to have webinar and video calling capability, and basically allowed them also to remotely connect back to their network. That was accomplished for a pretty healthy amount of users just in this one chapter in a matter of 2-3 business days. And we were able to actually have them take advantage of some promotions that we extended to business for free collaboration services through the extent of the pandemic. So a very good case study of what businesses were facing. And we actually have structured some talking points and a strategy around making this more of a permanent discussion. So from Command Link's perspective, businesses still need the ability to enable remote-based users. There's talk of a resurgence, and then I think, again, businesses are just reevaluating the expensive costs they're spending on commercial real estate and things like that. So we actually have 3 different tiers of structuring enablement of remote-based users. We start with more of a entry level, let's call it, with a lower price point, an economic price point where it gives them remote access VPN capability, and it enables them from a communication standpoint. And if they need video calling collaboration services, that's an easy add-on. A middle tier adds additional visibility and control around what the remote-based users are able to do on the internet. It also enables the business to monitor websites that are being accessed, protecting against, preventing people from going to certain websites, and also just allowing additional control so that if there is family members in the other room watching Netflix or on other Zoom calls, it's not going to affect the quality of the primary activity going on with the remote user. And then there's finally a third tier where this is probably reserved for a higher value employee, where you're really treating it almost like a branch, where they're going to have typically 2 circuits. So you have a primary and a redundant option. You have SD-WAN capability that's going to provide packet duplication and really just a pinnacle of experience. we definitely see a healthy amount of that in firms like attorney firms, technology companies, or even just executives where they just cannot have a home-based internet connection be the cause for any kind of glitch in their communications or access to the network. And then from a device standpoint, as you can see on the right, we can enable across all these different options as well. From mobile phones, remote computers, different IP phones, conference phones, and even into things like tablets and remote users. So we excel at designing the solution around supporting remote-based user while also owning, managing, designing, and deploying the core network as well. And really the goals that we're accomplishing are outlined on here on the right. So we're enabling the remote-based user, we're securing the core network for the company, we're scanning and blocking traffic so that if any remote-based device is infected, that's not going to affect the core network. We're enacting zero trust protocols, ensuring, again, that the core network is protected, verification of users, and encrypting the traffic back and forth from the core network to the remote user. So this is a fully managed service that Command Link can deploy. And with that being said, I would love to pause for a second and see if anybody has any questions on remote-based users. I'm going to move into more of a support-based discussion next, support being an industry-wide problem from Command Link's perspective. Does anybody have any questions based around enabling remote-based users?
Yeah, I see a couple coming in. You mentioned that the Command Link platform, is that a platform that's usable by the customers, or is that only for IT people? Or can the end user customer kind of take a look at what you've developed? I'm considering you're a software company first, so I'm guessing it's pretty user friendly.
Yeah, it very much is. So we are definitely extending a customer interface to every customer. This is a web-based application that is not just a portal, it is a platform that gives them complete billing access. It gives them easy communication and updates around every ticket, direct communication to the support structure we wrap around every customer, and then visibility around every service we provide, whether that's voice services, health of internet connectivity and just the network as itself, direct visibility into next generation firewall services, access to the SD-WAN platform, and then we're also extending things like enablement into applications around if they use a CRM for their sales team, or if they have a ticketing platform for their IT team, we can enable software to connect our platform into their environments to really not only solve business problems, but to enable them in their general activities. So absolutely, and that's something that me and my team can be happy to demo.
Great, my video went off. I do have a couple more questions that are coming in. So on the Big Brothers and Big Sisters case study, you mentioned that there was a lot of different products being used. So there's texting, so they were using texting to be able to communicate with their, I don't know, like their members or something like that, and that's a service that you guys provide?
Yeah, it is. It is. So standard within our unified communications platform is the ability to have SMS integration. And what we were talking about there is with that customer is being able to use their desktop phone, which I have sitting beside me, and both mobile and computer-based clients that allow to text directly to outside users. So they have a large number of volunteers that are primarily millennials, is their demographic, and they want to be communicated through text. So automating that process, enabling them a workflow perspective to communicate with their volunteers, which are essentially their customers, was a huge piece of the problem that we solved for that organization.
Great. Seeing another question. Is MMS available, or is it only SMS for those customers?
It is SMS today. MMS is delivered as a email attachment. However, we are also working on extending that into more of a direct right into the interface. So that's a roadmap item that we will probably have done in a few months. So as a software company, we are continuing to invest heavily in both the voice platform itself, and that's on the user level, but also into the contact center space. And then we're also investing into just enablement and connections to various applications, creating a library of deep integrations that solve business problems that we can then replicate for other customers.
Okay, great. And then you mentioned Zoom also. So the organization, some of these services that you have are newer to me. I know a lot about your other stuff, but this is really cool to hear. And that's part of the reason we do this is, so I wasn't aware that Command Link also had a Zoom component. So can you kind of tell us a little bit more about that so the customer is able to not only get all these other services, but then they can also get their video communication services kind of all on one bill?
Exactly, yeah. So a core value proposition from us is that, and in that case study, the customer was able to offload the communications and the network. And those are two service and collaboration services as well, which Zoom is an industry leader. Basically what we're talking about is having one provider, Command Link, be able to manage all those different pieces for them. And what that does is it frees up time for the people that are managing IT, and the burden has never been larger on those individuals from my perspective. And so partnering with a company like Command Link, where we can provide a economically priced full solution where we can manage everything. We're tying everything back to this platform that enables us from a support perspective. We're giving the customer complete access to all this and allowing them more time to focus on other initiatives, other technology focuses. And then Zoom is just a nice, easy add-on to our voice platform. So we chose that just because we thought it was an industry-leading ability. So I have the ability to give a user a seat package that gives them every phone system feature that you could ask for. And if they need a Zoom application added onto that enables screen sharing, video calling, and even things into like whiteboarding and things like that, it's very easy for us to add that as a feature. Zoom is an awesome product, and it's been a great tool for both us and our customers throughout COVID.
That's great. So we had a question around the SD-WAN for home users, and I've been seeing this increasingly. A big fan of SD-WAN just because I come from the cloud services industry, and you cannot have a good experience working on a cloud-based desktop unless you have good internet. I mean, nothing makes a cloud-based desktop look worse than bad internet. And if you have it really only takes like a half a meg or a quarter of a meg per screen for a cloud-based desktop. But if you have dual screens, it increases a little bit. And so I know that a lot of home users are on either, cloud-based desktops or have high demand internet needs, and they're on Zoom all day and they can't have the video dropping and things like that. And so I've seen it increasingly here just in my short time with Technology Source the last 6 months, home users looking for SD-WAN. And I wanted to just kind of dig in a little on that. Is that a cost-effective solution? And I know you said it, attorneys, executives. And so for me, it's kind of like, to my answer, it depends on how bad you want that internet to be good, right? And so if you're dealing with clients and they're billing hundreds of dollars an hour or something like that, it pays for itself with your first hour of a client, right? So I think that's how I would answer it. But I just want to see like kind of how you're feeling customers are responding to the price point of using SD-WAN. And then we have a couple more questions, but I'll let you respond to that one first.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So the core problem here is when you're single-threaded on one internet connection. My CEO is the perfect example. We're a company based in Seattle. Throughout the COVID pandemic, you have Google, Microsoft, Boeing, all sending their people from home, working from home. So all that traffic that was going over 10 gig connections over a tier 1 provider is now being sent over home-based internet service. And so even if my CEO has a gig delivered to his house, but even with that, the internet backbone has so much congestion on it that he got to a point where he was having some quality problems, it just running voice calls and Zoom calls. So that is the solution, and it's really the only solution, is to be able to offer two different paths over diverse backbones, that when congestion happens on one, you have another path that you can remediate on. And we definitely have the ability to deploy SD-WAN services to a home-based user at a price point that is pretty justifiable, especially when you factor in the cost savings of not having to pay for brick and mortar where that worker is going to have to be located. And quite honestly, the average productivity for a lot of remote-based users would greatly exceed the cost of a real SD-WAN solution for a remote-based user. And it is not surprising that we're seeing even single location businesses essentially turn their network into 30 or 40 or 50 location network with one hub and a whole bunch of small branches at home offices. So absolutely, it is definitely happening. It is a big part of what we're talking about on a daily basis.
Great. And a question about the configuration and deployment and setup. So is that something where Command Link is able to go to the user's home and set that up, or do you have a third party that you can sort of engage, or how does that work, just so that the customer is aware of sort of how that happens?
Yeah, I mean, that's another great question. Another great differentiator for us is we aren't typically going through just a broker where we have no control of what field tech shows up. We have a network of about 5,000 field techs for nationwide coverage, where I can typically choose a field tech we've done business with in the past. The scope of work that we do while we're on site can be very customized, and it's obviously installation of the services we provide. It can even do things like extending wiring. So absolutely, we would be able to do an installation at a remote-based user's home, and I can even aggregate the connectivity, so I can provide the cable or DSL or a fiber-based broadband product, or even a wireless product to help them with the connectivity as well. So a lot of ways for us to customize that, even in the deployment.
Yeah, and I know we had a question on that around what types of internet providers do you work with? And from what my knowledge is, it's any internet provider out there. So even the smaller internet providers maybe, but you can really work with satellite internet providers, just kind of all the different providers.
Yeah, we aggregate every internet service provider, 100% of ISPs, 100% of technology types, and 100% of addresses domestically. And we do extend into international as well. So our value proposition is trying to be the single point of contact for network communications collaboration, and internet is definitely a big part of that.
Great. Well, I think those are the questions over the home users. That was super informative. I'll let you continue on.
Okay. Sounds good. So I'm going to go through this one quickly, and since we're getting a little shorter on time. So we think that overall, there's a lot of competition or other supplier options available in the country. This is not a universal, but we think a very common problem is the way that support is conducted. And I'm really still talking about communications, collaboration, and network services. These are actually 5 what we think are industry-wide problems that our company is built to solve. And to outline what those are, we think that support, generally speaking, is a problematic piece of a business's process of managing their different technology, network, and communication services. We think the deployment processes are far too painful. We think number 1 and number 2 require far too many escalations. We think overall there's a lack of communication and visibility. There has been a lot of disruption. I have gone through over 20 acquisitions and mergers in my career, which is unfortunate. We definitely are a company safe from that, but those typically can be very disruptive and directly cause customer pain. And then the term vendor sprawl is outlined over here on the left. Really what my term for vendor sprawl is where you're taking point solution providers, you're stacking them. You'll have a UCaaS provider, you'll have a different contact center provider, another SD-WAN vendor, someone else doing security, and then you have 3 or 5 or 10 different vendors for internet. And what that does is it pushes the management, all those different services that rely on each other, back on IT. And again, that the burden has never been larger on IT. So we'll just kind of talk about the first one, which is by far, in our opinion, the biggest. We think support, generally speaking, the model is a antiquated, flawed model. It is a tiered structure, typically that you'll see with telecom providers, where customers will have to call into an 800 number. They are getting a tier 1 provider who has no idea who they are. Every time they call in, they're starting the process over again. If it's something even remotely complex, you have to escalate to tier 2 or tier 3 and to get to someone who can actually do the work and diagnose the problem. And we just think that this is an inefficient way to support customers. So what we do here, it's a very different model that we call command pod support. So we give every customer a dedicated team. The team is made entirely from tier 3 engineers, cross-trained against voice, network, communications, security, and break fix on circuits. And so every time a customer of Command Link has a ticket, a ticket goes directly into their command pod. And what's more, it also gets assigned through our software instantly through an algorithm that looks at these 3 factors. So it looks at the amount of experience each engineer has with the customer, the subject matter of the ticket versus the skill set of each engineer, and then the availability for more workload. So it's going to the correct engineer every time. Then that person owns that from start to finish. It creates accountability. And again, we operate from the standpoint that an escalation is by definition a failure of process. And within our business, from top to bottom, an escalation is a disciplinary issue. So this can allow us to really operate like a managed service provider versus a traditional telecom, supplier. And we give some pretty robust commitments for response time. So you see a 1-hour SLA for configuration changes. If you open up a ticket in our platform, we have a 5-minute SLA to have a Tier 3 engineer engaged, acknowledge the issue, and working to resolve whatever that ticket is. And we have a lot of customer trust purely because of this one piece of the business. We do think that when customers value what their experience will be and partnering with a command pod team that will not only be able to resolve problems quickly, but also be a source of advice and counsel, that's definitely a pretty big value proposition, for working with Command Link. So again, I'll pause here and want to see if anybody has any questions on this, what is a pretty unique way to support customers.
So we did have a couple questions. How big are the customers that you're supporting? Can you handle, I guess this is an enterprise type customer who's just wondering how big your support pods are and how big that they can go depending on the customer size.
Yeah, it's amazing how, so a command pod is going to work with a defined list of customers. The software platform that we own and manage, it measures the capacity of each pod, and we scale by adding pods. I worked for a Tier 1 provider years ago that was the third largest network in the world, that in their NOC, they had 150 people, but there was like 3 or 4 people that were really Tier 3 or the ultra level people that were doing all the heavy lifting. A command pod is typically 8 engineers in a pod that are cross-trained against all those different facets that work with a defined list of customers. That the size varies based on just how active the customer base that they support is. So it's not a preset defined list of customers. And it's amazing how fast things can happen when every ticket goes directly to someone who is trained, empowered, and able to answer and address whatever that is. We work with customers from very small SMB to the top 10 largest private companies in the country. So we have the full spectrum of customers available. I have references. Be happy to connect anyone, follow-up conversation with some examples, case studies in the enterprise space across all different types of verticals.
Great. And as far as you mentioned the Tier 1 hell, I've definitely been in that queue before where you're just like, oh, it's so easy just to do this. Part of it is I was an IT director for many years. I've seen how long things should take. So when you know how long something should take and then it takes 10 times as long, it's just like so frustrating because you're like, what are they doing? You mentioned that you don't put customers in that Tier 1 hell, and I like that. That's pretty good. How do you stop that? I mean, so the first time you answer the phone with the customer, they're talking to a higher level engineer, right? Is that the simple answer?
So 3 ways to open a ticket. First, you can call it in. You can open one up in our platform, in our software platform, which I would love to demo for anyone interested. And then a third way is we monitor everything. And I'm not just talking about ping. We're monitoring uptime, utilization, packet loss, latency, and jitter. We have the ability to proactively notify the customer around all 5 of those metrics. And then to your point, if a circuit goes down, we're going to know. We can automatically create a ticket, and then we can feed that to a Command Link pod that is assigned to that customer, and that can happen through our software. And if you call a ticket in, we have a kind of a unique workflow for that. And again, all of this is something that I would love to do on a Command Link demo.
Great. Well, I think those were our questions, and I'll let you keep going.
All right, one more subject. So a big movement in what we're seeing in businesses in just topics is the movement to Microsoft Teams for collaboration. Microsoft is making heavy investments. In fact, they just announced that they were purchasing a company called Metaswitch, which is the company that Command Link has partnered with for our voice network. So Metaswitch is a global, renowned, carrier-grade voice network platform that is being acquired by Metaswitch, and This is extremely exciting to Command Link because we are very engaged with Microsoft already at senior levels in Seattle. We are already down the road of being a Microsoft partner, and now they are essentially acquiring the voice partner that we have partnered with. So we think that we're very uniquely qualified to have discussions with any business that is choosing to use Teams as their collaboration platform. There are some common problems with Microsoft Teams as it pertains to using Teams for calling, business calling, and also for some of the feature set. So from that perspective, you see those outlined. The Microsoft calling plans are quite expensive. They do have gaps in the PSTN access. There is a limited feature set outside of Teams, and I'll kind of give you some examples. There's some limited integrations. I talked about earlier, our ability to create custom integrations to things like CRMs and other applications businesses might be using. That is a gap that Microsoft is likely going to rely on Microsoft partners like Command Link to solve. Unless you're a extremely ultra large enterprise, you are not going to get US-based support, and that's obviously something that we can solve. Experience is very focused on the largest companies, and there's no commitment around uptime SLA. So how Command Link can help a company who is considering this is calling plans first and foremost that are a fairly large potential for savings. So while it's not just a pricing discussion, price is a major factor most of the time when we're talking about moving a customer to Command Link direct call routing. We do not have the gaps in the PSTN access. We would enable businesses to have global dialing capability. We offer integration to our cloud-based voice network. So we can add features, add some of the gaps that the Teams product may not have. We have the Command API product that allows for deep integrations to other applications, CRMs, or whatever is important to the business. We can develop software to connect the communications collaborations offered through Teams to those other applications. Obviously, we solved the support problem with our 24/7 support from a dedicated command pod. We also offer the same level of support for every business of every size. SMB, mid-market, and enterprise, all with a 100% uptime guarantee. Here's kind of a basic example of a high-level cost comparison. Again, 20 to 40% is very common from a perspective of a solution. Again, our voice platform is something that we can demo through a webinar. If you'd like to see a demonstration of that, I would be very happy to arrange that myself or connect you with one of my team. We're talking about every feature, Polycom, Grandstream, Yealink phones, Cisco as well, and again, the ability to connect into those various applications that enable the various users to operate more efficiently and to communicate internally and externally more efficiently. So that completes the 3 topics I want to talk about. So I guess I'll pause on screen share, and at this point I would love to see if you guys have any questions on the Teams direct call routing product, or if there's anything else I can answer across any facet of what we discussed today.
Yeah, great. And so hi Sue, how are you? So we did get a couple questions, and I also wanted to just let you know that we'd had some feedback from some of our advisors who are on the call, just mentioning that they've had some really great experiences for their customers. So that's exciting to hear. So thanks to the advisors on the call today, and to those of you who've had some great wins and helped your customers be successful. So quick question that came in, do you handle PBX for the Microsoft calling, Mason?
Yeah, that is exactly what we're talking about. So keeping them in the Teams application for the various collaboration aspects, but enabling the voice calling ability in Teams using our 100% uptime SLA, nationwide voice network, and also extending different additional features, the ability to integrate, and all at a cost savings when it comes to just the calling rate plans. Again, the cost on the rate plans from Microsoft can be fairly punitive. So that does present an opportunity for us to come in and extend from an additional feature perspective, add integrations, and save money in the process.
Great. I wanted to ask you how many organizations that you start working with who have Teams but don't use it, or don't really, it's one of those things that kind of comes with your license bundle. And I've noticed that a lot of organizations don't use it, or just don't even understand it quite, how powerful it is and how helpful it is for an organization.
Yeah, I think from our perspective, there's a couple paths we can help customers go down. If they're not dedicated to Teams, we still have a voice platform, a unified communications platform, and collaboration services over Zoom where we can provide all of those different things just on our normal platform. And a lot of my competition with UCaaS, Unified Communications, they're really attacking Teams, and they're trying to say, go down this other path. We have that path too, but even before this acquisition of Metaswitch, our voice partner, we absolutely were going down the path of trying to be a Microsoft partner and an enabler for customers who are using Teams. So we actually have a path for each customer type. And I think the core difference is we can go down both of those different paths while also structuring a network design that will allow the voice, whichever path they go for voice and collaboration, allow them to have a network that we manage that can guarantee that their voice experience is going to be a quality one. So that's kind of like a high-level recap of our capability when it comes to these solutions.
Great. Your API product, is that something that's like an add-on and then the customer can because I'm thinking back to how you're a software company and how that's so empowering for a business, because rather than saying, okay, there's this one-size-fits-all approach, you have to do it this way, this way, this way, you can say, what are your goals, right? And that's what I love in the role that I'm in with Technology Source and all the advisors that we work with. They go, what are your goals and how can we kind of work backwards from this end goal that you have and make it work? And so that's what I love about the Command Link solution, is that it's really customized around their needs, and you can take your software development prowess and put that to use to formulate the right API integrations and get their goals met, rather than having them trying to figure out how to meet their goals by fitting into a one-size-fits-all approach. So do you want to just talk a little bit more about that API product and how that's priced out and how organizations can take advantage of that? And then I know we some questions from the audience if you want to ask. There's a couple more questions too. So go ahead, Mason, and then we'll finish up.
Yeah, perfect. So we offer the basic functionality to, let's say, a CRM, things like a screen pop, a click to dial, a record pull from Salesforce or Sugar or something like that. That's what I view as a very basic integration to an application. Typically, it's a web-based CRM or a browser-based application. That isn't what the Command API product is, though. What the Command API product is, an example of that is not a very big attorney firm that has paralegals that are spending hours a day manually entering in transcripts from voicemails and sending text messages into their file management system, and filing and faxing, and all that's being done manually, where we can actually come in and create software that syncs up this attorney firm-based application with our communications platform, which is voice, text, SMS, faxing, all these different components, and connect the two so that rather than have them lose hours of day of paralegal time spending just doing data entry, that's happening automatically. So we're talking about a software project that can be, oftentimes it is a one-time cost, or sometimes it's a combination of an upfront and a monthly cost. It is a customized approach, but the customers are happy to pay it because it's solving direct problems and immediately providing an ROI.
Great, and I'll let you close us out too with any final questions.
Absolutely. I know that we do have a lot of feedback, and Mason and our dedicated channel manager, Sean Mitchell, is also available to answer questions or talk about immediate opportunities. We just wanted to get you interested in Command Link, and it sounds like we accomplished. We will follow up with everyone with contact information so that you can get a hold of Command Link. Thank you. Thank you, Sonia and Mason, for a great
and reach out to us at Technology Source.
All
Thanks,
right.
Mason.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, that was great. All right, we'll see you guys next
Appreciate everyone's time.
Tuesday, 10 a.m.
Yep, talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.